Are we doing this stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Get 3 glasses.
Get 3 glasses.
Come on, who are you dealing with? Except you do not substitute vodka in a Negroni, ever.
I don't even think it works. It's not even. It's not even a Negroni.
I will hunt you down.
It's a cardinal rule.
Stanley Tucci, I will hunt you down. You know, at Cosmo, I was talking to my friend Morgan Weber, who has Cultivari and 8 Row Flint in Houston. He's sort of my drink consigliere. And we were talking about the Cosmopolitan the other day because I was kind of taking a deep dive into this martini book. And I said, Morgan, do you think the Cosmopolitan is a martini? And he said, well, in my opinion, it's more like a margarita. It's actually a sour. All right. And we were talking about it. And, you know, supposedly, as legend has it, there's one guy in Lower Manhattan that kind of invented that drink. And like fast forward, Sex and the City made it the most popular cocktail in the world. And I said, you know what, Morgan? I'm almost ready to start drinking Cosmopolitan. Like it's been so removed from the zeitgeist and culture. But the more we were talking about the kind of, you know, the breakdown of the drink, I was like, you know what? I do remember those going down really good. And I do remember them being, you know, quite simple in preparation. And maybe it's time to bring that damn drink back. And he was like, not so fast. I'll tell you right now, I could not walk into, I don't know, name some like Melfi's, a really cool restaurant that my buddy Brooks owns in Charleston. And I could not walk up in confidence with a bunch of dudes at the bar and be like, take a Cosmo, please.
Well, you could, but probably what you get back is going to be a Negroni or a Boulevardier. You're not getting a Cosmo.
Or a boot right in your ass.
Or you're not going to be drinking at that bar very long.
Yeah. Can you get that to go, sir?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm working on issue 7 of William Brown Magazine, and which is essentially the spring issue. And I was just doing a story down in Thomasville. I've been in the South this pandemic season. More than I ever have been down the South. I mean, kind of exploring Americana because we can. And, you know, been working down there, you know, visiting Sid, did a book event there. And then I was just down in Georgia again, in Thomasville, working on a story. And I have to say, I'm absolutely in love with that part of the world. I think it's so great. And it was so nice to kind of concentrate on Americana a little bit. During this period, rather than always being forward facing to Europe. You know, the grass is always greener is not necessarily true. And it's been great exploring essentially my backyard, and to be in the South has been terrific. I've really, really enjoyed myself there. And I had a hard time coming back on this one. And when Yolanda and I drove from New York to Florida, I said, you know, this is going to be the barbecue tour. Like, I'm not going to waste my time with anything else but eating fried chicken and barbecue.
Oh, nice.
And let's just say that 12 pounds, I earned it.
It's still hanging around, eh?
It's still hanging. It's getting a lot tougher.
Hey, the camera didn't add anything. It was the fried chicken and barbecue.
Like, this face up.
There are no apricots in the South.
And I'm sorry, there's also no pecans.
No, they're pecans.
They're pecans.
Yeah, right. Understood. I think the last time we spoke, you said you might be working on a cookbook.
I am. I have it right to my left, the analog version of that thing. My publisher who did both of the books, Manners Watch, Manners Car, the publisher that's putting out the Negroni Martini book that we kind of did a kind of quick fire publishing attempt on. We wanted to get these books out in a small format to kind of quickly complement what other things I've been doing. And, I had never kept a journal before in my life. And when we went up to the house during what we all seem to be calling the crisis, or I like to call the situation, I started keeping a food journal, and I just thought it would be fun. It would be something I'd wake up in the morning and, write what we had for dinner the night before, what we drank, everything. And before you know it, I had you know, and I was also always thinking about like all my mom and my mother's family is Italian. You know, no one ever wrote anything down. It was all this kind of oral tradition, you know? So as I was kind of comforting everyone, including myself, with a lot of that food that I remember as a kid, and I'm reasonably handy in the kitchen. So I started writing all the recipes down. And then we started writing down everything we did from my daughter was craving fast food and she was like, Dad, we got to make Crunchwrap Supremes, you know, the Taco Bell Crunchwrap Supreme. And I was like, okay, I love the idea of that. Of course, we own a deep fryer. And I was like, but let's kind of make the most elevated version of that. And we kind of did that. And I was writing all that stuff down. And before you know, I had a volume of recipes and food thoughts like this big. And I was talking to my publisher via Zoom call. And they said, oh, like, what's next? And I said, listen, I'm going to throw this out there because, you know, these guys, the concentration of their publishing is cookbooks. Like they have everyone from Sean Brock to Thomas Keller and sort of everything in between. And I was collecting their cookbooks before I ever met them as a publisher for Do the Watch and Car Book.
Yep.
And I said, I have this volume of recipes, and I started reading through it and showing them. And they were like, that's a cookbook. Do you want to publish that with us as a cookbook? And I said, yeah, I would love to do that. Like, so that is in development right now. And I'm really, I mean, I have to say, I'm incredibly excited about it because it's so deeply personal and it's so deeply connected to my history, my family now, friends that, you know, that I've, for me, the meal together is the most celebratory, intimate act that you could have with a, you know, non-engaged partner, you know.
Yep.
And I think, you know, that dialogue really means a lot to me. So to have an opportunity to share that on a larger scale, I'm really excited about that.
I think it's Penelope. Yeah, it's Penelope. So we know, so it's the Penelope and it's 80 proof, but this is like a great introductory. So here's the thing is like, I wouldn't introduce somebody to the Resurgens if they're like, hey, I've never had a whiskey before, I'm ready to go. I wouldn't go down that road. Penelope is like, you know, you could make like a good spritzer out of that thing actually, ish.
I mean, I think if you were to make a Boulevardier, this would be really nice too. You're right, because it's got everything you want in a whiskey without kind of overpowering flavors and color profile. And I think the Campari and the vermouth would be really, really nice with that. Personally. Yeah, and then the citrusy orange notes with that.
Yeah, I think if you're showcasing, if you've got a really good vermouth that you want to showcase, I think this is fantastic for a Boulevardier for sure.
Yeah, I like it.
So the food book first and then the cocktail book, Matt?
No, the cocktail books. So the Negroni book comes out in May.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Followed by a Martini book. And both of them are really small volume books with like, I don't know, 15 to 18 recipes tops. Like it's not like 50 recipes on Negroni. It has minimal history in it. Most of it kind of not concentrating on the myths of the origin stories of those two drinks, which is like, just makes your head spin. And I didn't want to get involved with a bunch of drink historians like calling me out. So like, we just kind of briefly touch on the history of stuff. And then we kind of get into recipes that actually I just really like. And, you know, listen, the pro bartenders, the world still needs. Like, I just feel like those guys and those women have been like the inspiration for all my best evenings and most fun times, right? But like when you come home, particularly now during this situation, you want to try to emulate that as much as possible. And I think, you know, the home chef, just like the home bartender, like if it's not really your skill set, like you keep it simple enough that you could probably get through it in a successful way and enjoy yourself. And that's the philosophy with these books. Like, how do you make these kind of classic cocktails at home for yourself in the most foolproof design? And that was the intent with those two guys. I have more photographs of Negronis in my phone than I do of my family, which I've realized I'm not that proud of, but it's true.
Do you say that
So
out loud?
I said that out loud. I've said it. It's in the intro of the book. But you know, during lockdown, like we had all these plans to be in Europe for the summer, and I was going to go to my favorite bars in Europe. You know, it really like Italy is there's no better Negroni than sitting in any place that's Italian. It's just the way it is, you know, and that could be, you know, the auto grill on the highway or some piazza in Rome. It's just the way it is. So I had plans to kind of trace my steps and re-photograph all these things, but we couldn't because we couldn't get there.
Right.
So I was digging through all my Instagram and I built this giant folder out and we realized, wow, there's all these images from all these great places in there. And then some I just had to kind of recreate either, you know, at my kind of makeshift studio upstate or here. But you realize like the Negroni is just about kind of a beautiful daylight situation somewhere, you know. You know, imagine yourself on the seaside or some, you know, like I said, piazza bar. But the martini really needs environment. And as I was kind of clocking where my favorite martinis are in New York, it's slowly, like the world slowly began to open up. So I was able to get to the Polo bar and have a Gibson. I was able to go back to Dante and have like an upside down vermouth forward martini. And like that was really good because I couldn't fake it anymore. You know, my kitchen was beginning to look the same no matter what table surface or glass I used. That just changed my life.
Wow.
And okay, so there's different kind of barbecue. There's like hipster barbecue, there's new barbecue. Some, you know, and people do that great. Like in Houston, a friend of Morgan's brought me to a place. I was just in Charleston, went to Lewis Barbecue. I mean, that brisket was the fattiest, moist, most perfect brisket I've ever had. And the pork rib was pretty damn good. But there's something about the aesthetics of a place when you go into, let's place like Lexington, and it looks like just the, you know, regular, you know, linoleum top diner. But that vinegar-based pork barbecue and something I'd never seen before, which is they just call barbecue slaw, which is actually coleslaw just made with ketchup. By the way, genius, absolutely amazing. Like it was chopped like they do New York style coleslaw. It's all chopped up with carrot, but instead of using mayonnaise and sugar and vinegar, it's just like vinegar and ketchup. And I remember looking to the left, looking at it, I kept saying to Yolanda, like, what the hell is that guy eating? It looks like applesauce or what the hell? And the woman said, oh, that's barbecue slaw. And I was like, whatever the hell that is, and I'll take it. And it was just spectacular. I just thought it was really, really great.
Nice.
So that was my go-to. And, you know, I don't want to piss a lot of people off, but the worst meal we had on the road trip was Chick-fil-A.
Ooh,
really?
Ooh.
And I'll tell you why. We were down in Asheville and went to Buxton Barbecue in Asheville. Big shout out to those guys.
Yeah.
And I had their interpretation of that kind of just classic Southern fried chicken sandwich, which, you know, Chick-fil-A has made an absolute fortune on, and, you know, bringing it to the masses.
Yeah.
But what I thought was interesting is like the chicken he was using at Buxton was so good. Like the flavor of the chicken was so good. It like tasted like something. And it was just the really thoughtful construction, you know, like the bun and the cheese were pretty straightforward, but it just was like so good. The chicken and the fry was so good. And I just felt like many fast food places, it just felt like uncared for and just slung out. And the chicken was tasteless and the fry was good, but I kept going like, felt, you know, like Homer Simpson, like, hello, flavor, you know, like where is, and in both Yolanda and I looked at, and it was sort of at the end of the trip. And we were like, everybody goes apeshit crazy for Chick-fil-A. But like, this was so, and I think it was because we had such extraordinary stuff coming through that actually was really mom and pop. Except this one chicken finger place that Clara wanted to go to Cane's.
I don't know Cane's.
You know
Cane's?
No.
Cane's, all they do is make fried chicken tenders.
Oh,
And-
where?
And this was down in South Carolina.
Okay.
And Clara was going ape shit crazy for it. She's like, we got to go to Cane's. We got to go to Cane's. We pull up and I'm like, wait, we're waiting in line for chicken fingers. She was like, Dad, just wait. Canes. They were fantastic.
Okay.
I mean, they were absolutely fantastic.
I have not heard this.
So anyway,
So they were good. The chicken fingers were good.
Oh my God. It was great. It was great. And so anyway, that was sort of like my tour of now listen, if there is one franchise out there, Chick-fil-A, that thinks that they can impress me the most, I'm open to that. I'm not saying it's etched in stone, but the one I went to is just didn't seem as thoughtful and as good as the people that were kind of reinterpreting in their own kind of mom and pop
Yeah, sure.
way.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Let me ask you this, Go, because here in the South, of course, Chick-fil-A is from Atlanta. We kind of established that as like it's kind of the go-to place. But in your opinion, you're well-traveled in the U.S. What's your go-to burger place from like fast food? Is it In-N-Out? Is it Whataburger?
If somebody said to me, you have one last group of meals,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
In-N-Out Burger would be at the top of that list.
There you go. I agree.
And I will say this, when I land in LA, my first meal is In-N-Out right by the airport.
Yep, been there.
And my last meal, if I can do it, is In-N-Out by the airport.